Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, joining me is my Buddy Reads co-host, Classy Green. We'll be discussing Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by Orange Blossoms, Love Blooms, written by Dahlia Dupree. It's the Mocha Girls Read National Book Club's December Book of the Month. Visit their website and join in today. Strong-willed Elaine Hart is determined to save Heartland Ranch, her family's California orange groves. After the recent ending of a turbulent relationship, she vows to keep her professional and personal life separate, even though she's attracted to the man who holds her family's fate in the palm of his hands. Serious-minded banker David Cole has two goals: collecting on the delinquent ranch account and resisting his attraction to the unpredictable and beautiful Elaine Cole. When a series of circumstances bring them together, they must decide if they will continue to suppress their emotions or succumb to passion and take a chance on a forever love. Orange Blossoms, Love Blooms is available now in paperback, ebook, and audiobook from your favorite bookseller. Learn more by visiting mochagirlsread.com. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and thank you for downloading this month's Buddy Read discussion featured here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. If you're new here, every week we get bookish with book discussions, book reviews, shelf bites, and more. If you're wondering what is a Buddy Read, this is a feature where Classy and I select a thriller or mystery title that we both are interested in. Then we have a candid conversation about that book or audiobook. We even discuss it in our Facebook group, Shelf Addiction Official, during a live chat. So grab a glass of wine, a cocktail, a cup of tea or coffee, whatever your drink of choice is, and settle in for this fun discussion. As always with book chats, there is a spoiler alert in effect, so you've been warned. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with your book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That will really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing it. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including this podcast after show. If you'd like to support the show in other ways, please consider doing that by supporting our sponsors. By supporting them, you are supporting us. Check out all of the sponsors at shelfaddiction.com/sponsors. If you've read the book or listened to the audiobook and would like to weigh in on this conversation, be sure to join the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. I hope to hear your thoughts on this discussion. Links for everything I've mentioned are in the show notes, so let's get going. We've got a lot to cover today, so we are going to jump right on in. Joining me is the Buddy Read feature co-host, Classy Green. Welcome back, Classy.
Hey, Tamara. Hey, everybody.
Hey. So just to let you guys know, for those of you that aren't on Patreon, we are doing a super fun after show and you don't want to miss out. If you want to check it out, you got to head on over and sign up today. We are going to be listening to music, talking the latest book news, and more. So if you're curious about what that looks like, you can head on over there and watch. So today we are talking about the audiobook version of Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Fun times.
Yes.
Let me run down the book stats. The hardcover came in at 416 pages. The audiobook unabridged length is 11 hours and 4 minutes, published June 30th, 2020 by Dutton Books and Penguin Audio. The narrators are Caddy McLean and John Lindstrom. So, Classy, go ahead and share the synopsis if you would.
Okay, I am reading the synopsis from Goodreads. What was it like living in that house? Maggie Holt is used to such questions. 25 years ago, she and her parents, Ewan and Jess, moved into Bainbury Hall, a rambling Victorian estate in the Vermont woods. They spent 3 weeks there before fleeing in the dead of night, an ordeal Ewan later recounted in a nonfiction book called House of Horrors. His tale of ghostly happenings and encounters with malevolent spirits became a worldwide phenomenon, rivaling the Amityville horrors in popularity and skepticism. Today, Maggie is a restorer of old homes and too young to remember any of the events mentioned in her father's book. But she also doesn't believe a word of it. Ghosts, after all, don't exist. When Maggie inherits Bainbury Hall after her father's death, she returns to renovate the place to prepare it for sale, but her homecoming is anything but warm. People from the past, chronicled in House of Horrors, lurk in the shadows. Home Before Dark.
All right.
Yes.
Well, okay. So, why did we pick this one, Classy?
Because it was my turn to pick. I really wasn't decided, and then saw Riley. And this is the thing. It was the last time, because this is what, our third book or our fourth, Riley?
Together, I think this is our third.
Third, okay.
Yeah.
So after that last one, which was with the gargoyles or whatever, I was like, I'm done. And I was like, okay, we read the reviews, I think we also picked this because it just wasn't mystery. I think it was labeled horror, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and we were
horror and thriller. Yeah.
Right. So we were trying to look for something a little out of our genre range, because we usually do thriller mystery. So we were like, oh, okay, a little horror. We did Stephen King. Let's do this. So we said, well, give him another chance, because it sounds different compared to what we've read in the past from Riley.
Yeah, and he is technically a thriller writer, so I knew it would feel like a thriller, but I thought it would have these horror aspects. That's what I was expecting.
Yes.
And, well, it was an interesting 11 plus hours. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad to me. I would not say it was in the crap category by any means.
No.
But I think I just don't agree with the masses on how high they rated this.
Yeah, because the average rating is 4.16.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm with that unpopular opinion as well, because I was just like, okay, what did you guys see that I didn't see? And I think to myself too, I'm like, am I that hard on him with him being that male writer who always has the female protagonist? And I don't know, I pick him apart every time. And not just that with this one, because you said it was 11 hours? And I don't even know how many pages, but I felt like he dragged it. It could have been a lot shorter to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was some of that stuff in the middle that could have just been left out.
So let me say some of the stuff I did like. I did like that he alternated between the father's book, basically, and present day with Maggie. So at first I thought we were just getting the father's story, but it was his it was from his book.
Right.
So I did like that, because it was kind of, I think, trying to trick you into thinking it actually was a ghost story.
Yeah, because I did feel that way.
Which was smart. That was a smart move if you're trying to get people to look to the left. Look over here. That was smart.
To sell us.
Credit for that.
Yep. Amen.
Yes. I did like how he set the story in a little creepy Virginia town, right?
Vermont.
Vermont, sorry.
No
Virginia. Vermont. And I like that, it was an old house. It had a lot of those old school features, with the bells ringing and stuff that reminded me of Downton Abbey, when you can pull on the chain and the bells ring. I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar to me. So I kind of liked those aspects of the old house.
Right. It fit the ghostly atmosphere. The chandeliers and the old paintings and the old furniture. And when they were looking, it had the cloths dropped over them. So, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely had the construct right. So that was good. Let's see. What else did I like? I think I did like the story overall. I saw what he was doing, and overall, high level, I think the story came together. I didn't feel like it didn't make sense at the end,
Right.
which is important. So, what about you? Did you like a few things about the book?
I too did like the house, and he sold me on this ghostly house, because any ghost story that you read, or the majority of ghost stories or ghost movies that you see, is usually an old house where someone died. The creaky floors, the lights that are coming on, the wardrobe, which I thought immediately, the Lion Witch, C.S. Lewis, and all those. He had all the creep factors in there. The creepy sound. So I did enjoy that. I did enjoy. Oh, I did like the aspect too that the father was a writer.
Mm-hmm.
How perfect! Creepy house. Career is on the brink.
Right.
New parents. Those were some things that I did like. I'm trying to think what else. I think that might be it.
So
There
the
was a few,
song, let me tell you about that song that kept playing. Okay, so that song, so the narrators would speak the song, but in my mind, all I could hear was the sound of music. I'm like, because that song that Liesel, I think her name was, and her boyfriend were singing outside.
Mm-hmm.
16, and there was that whole
17.
You are 16, going on 17. Da 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 da. All I could hear every time they mentioned that song. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's bookmark that, because I thought that was supposed to be key in the story. And granted, he did fool us, because it really wasn't a ghost story. He made this all up. But they never really referenced, because remember, I thought that song kept playing. Mm-hmm. But again, he tricked us. It wasn't.
I can tell you how the father, chose to use that song in his story, but it didn't have anything to do with real life. It was part he made up.
Okay, you have to do that for me.
You want to?
Yeah, okay, so we're not doing anything else.
So the father, toward the end there, when he was on his chapters, when he was saying, he was trying to figure out, who, because the whole time I was thinking, oh, someone's possessing them, right? Someone's possessing people to kill people.
Right.
I kind of knew that, but I did assume it was a man. But when we found out who it was, but he was using the song to get his own character, quote unquote, to think it through, which is random to me. How he even got the ghost to do basically an abbreviated Morse code. With these bells, and then he's so then he's using the song would play saying 16 going on 17, 16 going on 17. So then I guess he figured out, well, wait, maybe it's not that person, it's somebody else.
Yeah.
And then it would say, oh, think something like another phrase in the song.
Be canning. It was like be canning. Even Dale mentioned that. It's like my grandmother would say something about be canning. And I'm like, what in the hell? I was a little confused with that. But yeah, that Morse code crap. I'm like, how are you figuring out what the ghost is saying?
This is one of those parts where I did rewind a couple of times to see if I missed how he figured out the code worked. But I'm like, oh, forget it. I can't.
Yeah, because I was like, are you writing this down and then showing Mr. Ghost, like, see, 2 shakes is A? I was just like dumbfounded. I was, and then I got to the point where it was just too much, and I just said, I'm just going with it. He can understand the damn ghost. I don't understand how, because it wasn't Morse code.
It wasn't Morse code. It was some kind of made up. Yeah.
And not the ghost. Well, I don't know. I was just, yeah.
So that song, though, I'm like, but it was kind of motivating him to think about something, or it was hard to explain, but
Yeah.
it kind of like motivated him to think out of the box as far as who was manipulating the people, which he did figure out. He did figure out it was, a little girl or whatever. And the ghost said yes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, there's that. So there were a lot of people that died in that house. So things kind of got convoluted. So there were a couple different things going on. So there's like way, way back when.
Yeah, I got confused with the characters, the older ones too.
Yeah, so way back then, this girl died, and her father, and I don't know if they're saying the father killed her or how she died. I don't remember that exactly, how she died.
I think he either smothered her. I think he may have smothered her, but I'm not positive. But
yeah, because she was trying to get married to this guy he didn't approve of and run off. And again, the girl was young. She was 16.
Yep.
She was young. So
going on 17, almost
right.
a
That's
lady.
where that linking comes in.
Yeah.
And then in the more recent history, still history, but like much more recent, to the fact that the mother was still living in that town, there was a couple there with a daughter, and the father killed the daughter and then killed himself.
Okay, that's the one I think. See, you see how confused I am. I think that's the one where the I can't remember. I just lost it.
No worries, it'll come back.
Yeah, because it's like, so did the first dad? So wait, it was the Garzas, and it was Curtis somebody, and then the Garzans, right?
Right. So Curtis is Curtis Garzan. Curtis is the father that killed himself after killing his daughter,
which was the most recent family.
Right.
Marta is his. Okay. And then, so the previous family, who originally, Edward or whoever.
Wasn't it like, what was it? Iris or something? What was it was named after she was named after that room. It was like,
Indigo.
Yes, thank you. Indigo. I'm like, Indigo. It's a color.
Indigo.
So
okay.
Indigo was getting the letters and had the boyfriend, but eventually it came to find out that Indigo wasn't so nice. Like, they had us thinking that Indigo was one way, but she was another way when the father, Ewan, started picking off extra paint off of her photo and figured out, oh, there's snakes under there. Not a rabbit, not a fluffy rabbit. So, right. So that woman, that girl was pissed. So she was using the men that came into that house to kill their daughters and kill other people.
Because now, which family was the one where the girl could never leave the house because the dad basically thought she was evil. He wouldn't even stand like next to her in the picture. Was that Indigo's parent, or was that that was Indigo? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I got confused, my dear.
Yeah, I mean, it was technically 3 whole stories going on here.
Yeah. And they were too close.
Yeah, right. You got it.
I mean, the deaths were very similar, and I get it because it was a pattern, but it got to the point where I couldn't differentiate between the two. Yeah. All I knew at one point, it was Indigo and Katie, the other girl.
The other girl's name was like, I don't know. It doesn't even matter.
No.
She was the
Garzan
younger sister.
No, that's Petra.
Oh, Petra was the older sister who died after all of that.
Right.
So she died. So the father killed himself. Petra's father killed himself and Petra's sister. It was Petra's sister, wasn't it? Because remember, the mother kept coming over to the house looking for her daughter. And when she fell out of the ceiling, there were bones, and they were like, that's her.
Right, but Petra wasn't killed by her father.
No. Petra, I'm saying that that's the same family. That's the same
No,
family. Are you sure? Because the Petra's mother, who was slow, not slow, but she had Alzheimer's. She kept coming to that house
they
looking for
were,
her daughter
but they
that
were,
ran away. Remember?
right, but Petra's mom, Elsa, was the housekeeper of that
Yeah.
house. So she was the housekeeper, and she would bring her daughters. She was the housekeepers to the Garzas. And then
Yeah.
she was the housekeeper, and she would bring her daughters with her, so they knew the house. Their dad
Petra
was
was the
never.
one that was killed.
Yeah, Petra was killed,
Okay.
but she wasn't killed by her father. She was
No.
killed by the
Right.
penny, 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 why, whatever, the ghost with the penny eyes, Pennywise. Remember the ghost? We're gonna
This
get
is a
there later.
clusterfuck because it's really
Yeah,
not a ghost. It's not a ghost.
right. So Petra was not killed. Petra's father and Hannah's father, that he was never mentioned. Petra was she was like the babysitter. She babysit Maggie. Hannah was her friend. They were trying to be friends. And Petra was the girl who investigated Indigo or whoever who had the letters. Remember, she was investigating with Ewan. But
Yes.
yeah, so she wasn't killed by her father at all. Indigo, and I think the other girl's name was Katie, the
No.
Garzan girl,
Yeah.
Marta's daughter.
Yeah.
Petra,
Because
yeah,
Petra didn't live there. She lived
no,
on the property, but she did not live in the house. So she was
right.
not a part of that cycle.
No, but she was running away. She snuck over to babysit and went
Right.
missing.
And
Yeah,
then the sister said that she ran away.
right, because she was supposedly going out with the older guy, which she was. I don't think he was that much older, but he was older. But mom was strict. So yeah,
Oh
see how
God.
convoluted this can be,
It
and
is
you see how
convoluted. And I feel like we got in this same situation the
the
last
last
time we
time.
talked about one
That's
of
why I'm
his
looking at
books.
you like him and these female characters. It's and that's something we'll talk about again too, because our struggle with him as a writer, he is non-descriptive. So it's like, how do we differentiate all these female characters that you just threw at us?
Yes.
I can't say, oh, the redhead. You know what I mean? Like,
There's no distinguishing features about them that would
none.
let us know to help us keep it straight.
Yep.
So we've got all these names flying back and forth
It's
and
hard.
relationships, sister to this, mother to that, but it is hard to keep it straight. And I mean, I feel like I have it straight in my mind, but clearly I just F something up because I thought someone else died, but it was
Yeah.
Petra that fell out the ceiling. I'm like, oh my God.
But it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that he does not, even if you think about like in a classroom, when you're in a class and you have all these students in there and names, but your mind associates different features with that name so you can recognize it. Like now I know Petra was tall and had long legs. I think she may have been blonde, and the only way I knew that is because of the pictures and Maggie describing her in the pictures and saying how she was kind of flirty in the pictures. Maybe she was messing around with her dad. But those other two girls, it was something maybe once or twice he mentioned about their photograph, but that was it. Not everything else, they're ghost or whatever. But we're constantly bombarded with Kurt, the ghost and this, but I don't know what the hell they look like. You're just giving me damn names. I need something to connect my brain with to figure out this is so and so and this is so and so.
Yeah. And I think that is part of how he is able to pull off the twist, because you're like, kind of like, well, you kind of just go with it because
you get tired.
Yeah.
You get tired. Well,
yeah, I got
tired. Yeah. I can see that.
I didn't necessarily like the twist after twist after twist with quotes at the end.
Yeah.
Because you find out, well, okay, well, this happened. Well, no, not really. Actually, it was this. Okay, well, wait, one more time. Not really. It was this.
Wait. I got one more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like even finding out that, the guy that stayed on the property is the groundskeeper, obviously Maggie liked him a little bit. They had this moment that,
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't go there, but they had a moment.
Right.
And then she finds out, you were the one dating Petra. It was you.
Yeah. Yep.
So then there's a connection there. And then she's like, well, you must have killed her.
Yeah. And even with that little tidbit, it was like, exactly how did she figure out he was the one dating Petra? Because in the picture, he was just a guy helping her dad move the kitchen
It was his
cabinets.
shirt, remember? His t-shirt.
Right, but the t-shirt didn't. Only way she knew it was him is because he still wore the t-shirt. But
Right.
that t-shirt didn't give her information that he was the one dating Petra.
It didn't.
That was one of my notes. And I'm like, okay, so.
Well, I think this is how she thought that. And she was right. But I think she thought that because when she was looking at the picture, she said, that whole time I thought that was my father standing next to her, but it wasn't. Mm-hmm. So when she figured out that it was Dean or whatever the guy's name was, Dale standing there, she said, well, my father must have been behind the camera, not in the photo. Right. So I think she just drew some conclusions based on that photo that it was an older boy or something inappropriate. So she just kind of went for it and he caved and admitted it.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was just crazy. I'm like, that's not enough evidence to figure out he was the one dating Petra. But again, he gives us all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it was an older man in my thought, because he was only like maybe a couple years older than her. If you think about it.
But if you're 19, maybe 20, and she's 16,
right,
a junior in high school, that's inappropriate.
Right. And I can't even figure out how old he was, but
we don't know.
Yeah.
But we know he wasn't in high school. We know that.
No?
I feel like he was saying he was there to help. I think he had some kind of story. I just don't remember the details of it.
Yeah.
He had some story about why he was there. And I think that was after he got in the fight and was in jail, or did he get in the fight and go to jail after that?
After.
Okay.
Because I think he was like helping his dad or something. And the only reason why I thought he was younger, and like you said, he could have been 19, because in the book, the dad says, I got this kid to help me, move the cabinet. So, I mean, granted, an older man, a kid could be 19, a kid could be, anything probably 21 and younger. Mm-hmm. But yeah. And again, this could be me because I am very critical of this guy. I was like picking apart, I was like, that's not enough. That's not enough evidence.
That would not hold up in a court of law. No. You cannot prosecute someone with that evidence.
Not at all.
But she caught his ass off guard and he admitted it.
Yeah. She sure did. And she was, because I could see if she said, you said you didn't know Petra. And I think she did say that and just went with that. But she was like, you were the older guy. And I'm like, how did you get that?
And then she jumps at, oh, you must have killed her because you have a violent streak.
Mm-hmm.
So you must have killed her.
Yeah. Yep. And I loved how he left too. He did,
at the end, she comes and apologizes to him. And he just looks at her.
Left her on the porch for 10 minutes.
Left her on the porch. Yeah, and then when she was done apologizing, he just turned around and shut the door. And then he moved out a week later. And that's what he should have done.
Mm-hmm. Because his life was going to be miserable. Here he came back. But, I mean, yeah. But that was something that, that was one of those things that kind of was blaring, that the Morse code. It was just, it was a few little things. But as you said, if he keeps throwing all these red herrings at us, we're just like, oh my, what's going on? I can't figure it out. And I think with him telling the story, because at first I thought he was just telling the story. And then I realized, whoa, he's reading from the book. Mm-hmm. And I did like how I was confused at first, but figured it out. Remember, she had the Band-Aid under her eye.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the book it says she fell on a gravestone or she fell in
Mm-hmm.
the yard, but come to find out, she got cut from a fight, basically, or an entangle. I won't say entanglement, but
It was
a
a
little.
tussle,
It was a
basically,
tussle.
between,
Yeah, her
yeah,
and Marta, and it was her and
Petra.
Marta and Petra. No,
Petra was babysitting her.
that's right. That's right. At that time, right,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how she got that. I was like, that's how she got the scar.
Yeah.
But yeah, the confusion that he did give us with the book, because at one point, like you were saying, I was believing, no, this house is haunted, and they just were like covering up for the daughter. They didn't want to tell her that the house was haunted, because they took her to a therapist and blah blah blah, which they did do.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, like you said, there's always a little truth in every lie.
Mm-hmm.
And he used that to his advantage in this book.
Yeah. Even the father is the storyteller, when he wrote the letter for Maggie, kind of explaining himself,
Yeah.
he did say there's a lot of truth, but there are a lot of lies.
Mm-hmm.
And with the truth, there's a lie. So, in the end, there weren't any ghosts, but it was people sneaking into that house.
Yeah.
And she didn't know.
So in her mind, there were ghosts.
So can you imagine? So you guys, let's imagine there is a back way into your house covered by ivy. Someone comes in, there's a stairwell that goes up to a child's bedroom and comes out through an armoire. You have a child sleeping in there, and they're seeing people come out of the armoire and whisper things to you like you're going to die and other things.
Or just staring,
or staring at you.
Yeah. In the middle
a second grader would think that was a ghost.
Right. In a new house.
Yeah.
They didn't live there long. What did they live there? 2 weeks, maybe?
2 weeks. Because every chapter that the father had, it was day 1, day 2, day 3.
Yep. So they had only lived there 2 weeks. They had only lived in an apartment, and they moved into this huge, basically like Amityville horror house.
Yeah.
And she's hearing noises and she's seeing things. And so to Maggie's little second grade mind, those were ghosts. I don't care what you say. Those were ghosts.
She was seeing it like this someone standing over me, watching me.
Right. And I don't know who they are. Somebody's coming out of that armoire.
Yeah.
I really did not I understood Marta's reason, and we'll go back to who Marta is. I did not understand Elsa's reason for going in there and saying you're going to die in here. I'm like, what the hell was that, Elsa? Or maybe was she just thinking that because the other 2 girls died? But why would you do that?
I don't know.
Again, Riley Sager, why did you put that there? Oh yeah, I came in there only 2 times. Really?
Only 2 times.
Only 2.
And I mean, and as an adult, she's there to kind of pick this house up and try to sell it, clean it up and sell it. People still sneaking in. They sneaking in and she has no idea. And she's like, things are missing. Well, I know I saw this on the desk and now it's gone. Yeah. And it's making her question her sanity. Like, well, maybe I don't remember this right. Maybe.
Maybe there is a ghost.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, again, you have a letter opener sitting there, a teddy bear sitting there. You hear noises in the middle of the night and you look out and you see a shadow. So yeah, everything possible that could have gone wrong or, would have made her think that those were ghosts. And I don't think because the missing items, everyone came out to be Hannah, who is Petra's sister, Elsa's daughter, the only living daughter. She was going back into the house and selling many of the items on basically eBay or some antique website because this house was famous due to Ewan's book. So she was getting top dollar, if not more, because they were considered,
Antiques.
rare pieces and antiques.
Yeah. And they're coming from this famous house.
Mm-hmm. And her
Bainbury Hall.
Yeah. And her mom was sick and they didn't have money. Yeah. And she was, trying to pay bills.
Although Ewan was paying her every month for years.
Yeah. But those medical bills, man.
Yeah.
Because she wound up being in she wasn't in assisted living yet, but she was at home dealing with, probably dementia.
Dementia, if nothing
heading
else.
On to Alzheimer's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's how the items that were missing, that we thought ghosts were moving. Hannah thought it was the biggest effing joke. She's like, what? What do you want? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? Basically, she's like, it's not a big deal. She's like, what? Yep.
Oh my God.
Been doing this for a while. You want it back? Wait.
She's like, I was just trying to get you to leave.
She's like, some of that other stuff you're not going to get back. But the stuff that I didn't sell, I can bring them back. Right. I was like,
yeah. And she's like, what were you trying to do? She's like, I just want you to leave. This has basically it's a money pit for her. And she just wants you to go so she can keep doing what she's doing.
That's right. You're messing up the church's money.
Yeah.
Maggie.
Yes.
You're messing with the church's money. Go on back home. We don't need you over here.
Oh my gosh.
And so those were, some of my confusing things. And I think that may have been my area of where some of the book could have been shorter. But as we talk it through, it seems like he probably needed to do that to give us that thriller kind of feel. But I didn't get a thriller feel. I just felt pissed off and confused. I didn't get thriller. The only time I got thriller probably was when those damn snakes fell out of the ceiling and into his coffee cup.
Yikes.
That was probably the scariest or horror type thing.
I ran my ass out that house so fucking fast, and I would not come back.
They could have had that damn house right there. And I think that was like day 5, maybe. Yeah, and I'm like, y'all stayed 2 weeks? I'm sorry, red belly snakes falling where?
Mm-mm.
Out of the ceiling?
You not can't just drag one or me two. Back in this house.
It was a ball of no. Y'all can have that. Y'all can have it because y'all don't pay the mortgage, Mr. Snake Body or whatever. Y'all can have this house. That right there, and I think I text you. That grossed me out. Yeah, I could deal with the ghost. Them damn snakes.
That's a hard
they could get any.
Yeah, that's and
and then when they fell in his coffee, and I'm a coffee, I was just like, that's it.
I would have. Oh Lord, that's just so wrong on so many levels. Like, come on now.
I think I texted you that. I was like, no, I'm done here with the snakes. No, I'm sorry. I would not have been there 2 weeks.
Yeah,
after the snakes, no, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so look, this is a good time for us to take a break and calm down by these snakes.
Right?
So when we come back, we are going to continue our conversation about this book. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to rate it. We're going to talk about the audiobook narrators. And we're going to tell you what we're reading next. So come back. Today's episode is sponsored in part by audiobooks.com. Audiobooks.com now has 175,000 titles and 1.2 million podcasts. New customers get 3 free audiobooks comprised of 1 premium credit and 2 VIP titles. Use our promo code SHELFADDICTION, spelled as one word, when you sign up at audiobooks.com. Again, our promo code is SHELFADDICTION. Okay, guys, we are back. Don't forget to support today's episode sponsors by checking out their products and services. By showing them some love, you're showing us some love and supporting Shelf Addiction. So please do that. Okay, let's jump back into this wild ride, shall we? If that's what we want to call it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is one of those, when I say wild ride, it's one of these like roller coasters. You know, when you get to the park and you see this huge roller coaster, you're like, oh, that's going to be so good. You get in the line, you wait and wait. You're all excited. You get on that ride. You're like, oh, it's fun while I'm on it. You get off and you're like, that wasn't worth the 3 hours we waited to get on here.
Nope.
That wasn't worth the price of admission.
Nope. Not at all. Yeah. That's how I felt. And, I thought I'd give him another try. And, but yeah. Oh, but you know what? Before we wrap it all the way up, we need to probably tell the ending of, because, okay, not only was this a ghost thriller, it was also a mystery because, we had to figure out, because Petra, as we mentioned earlier, died. She went missing and they never found her. But in the time of restoring the house, Dale, which was the groundskeeper or whoever, poked at the ceiling and a bag of bones basically fell out, and it was Petra's bones. Maggie, I think you mentioned that Maggie called the police and kind of said Dale probably was the killer. And come to find out, Marta, which was, I believe the daughter's name was Katie, I don't know, the Garzan girl, the last family, Marta killed Petra. And Marta was the ghost, basically. Pennywise, I can't remember the name of the ghost. Miss Pennywise, Miss Penny Eyes.
Yeah, she called her Penny Eyes or Pennywise or something because she had pennies in her ear, in her glasses. But it turns out to be it was like
the
light reflecting her off her glasses, which reminds me of Haunting of Hill House because that guy's glasses were.
Yep, you are so right.
Yeah, because of the light was flashing in them. So, you're right. So,
yep, you are so right. But yeah, she thought the ghost had pennies in her eyes, which, which kind of also gives you that ghostly feel because I don't know if you remember, but I remember my uncle was going to school to be a mortician, and he said that's what they would do for dead people to keep their eyes closed, would put pennies in there. So I was like, okay. Yeah, it's a dead person, but Marta would sneak in that back entrance through the armoire and stare at Maggie because she said since her daughter was gone, she felt like watching Maggie was, kind of giving her that motherly feel of comfort, having a daughter again. Yeah, and the one night that Petra was babysitting Maggie, she walked in on Marta standing over her bed, like staring at her. Yeah, and Petra, was like, I'm going to call the police and blah, blah, blah. And Marta was like, no, listen to me. And they got into a tussle. Yeah, and right by the stairs. Yep, and Petra fell down the stairs in a broken heap. I mean, she was so broken up that basically the dad could put her up in that little duffel bag because he said he couldn't tell. I mean, it wasn't a little duffel bag, but he couldn't tell like what was the arm and what was the leg. It was just, she was just so broken up. That was a big fall. Yeah, because it was 3 or 4 floors in that house. Yeah, it was a big fall. Yeah, so I think she fell. Well, she must have fallen over the banister or something, maybe. Then. Yeah, and all these years. So Marta left after that because Maggie was a young girl. So when the parents in that ruckus, that is where Maggie got her cheek cut because they were tussling and Maggie was like, stop it, and got in the way. And somehow someone's boot caught her or something, caught her in the face. I think, yeah. Yeah, ring, yeah, caught her. And that's where she got the cut from. Yeah. So, and yeah. And when the parents came home, she said, I didn't do it, but there was no proof. And the parents thought Maggie killed Petra, and that's why they left that house on day 14 and never returned. And the parents were wanting to protect Maggie, made up this story of ghosts. and haunting and this and that. And Dad was given a book deal and they went with it.
Well, don't forget this. The father said, well, they hadn't really thought that far to totally blame it on the ghost until Maggie gave him the idea.
That's right, because he's like,
yeah, she was like, he's like, we're not going back there. And she's, asking why. And she's like, well, was it because the penny lady scared us off? And he's like, I guess so.
Mm-hmm. But, and I thought about that too as a mom, if my daughter at that age and I came in and, and she has a history of some kind of psychosis and she slapped Hannah. And I was like,
but that was one event. She slapped her one time. And you think your kid can push someone twice their size and murder them?
And not just that, the things that, she was kind of, in their mind, she was some kind of psychosis was going on here. She was seeing ghosts and they didn't, you know what I mean? So they're just probably thinking it's a possibility. Something is going on. She could get some kind of strength because even the doctor said that slap that she gave her, I can't remember, was some kind of defense mechanism to protect her. So basically, shut the fuck up. It was kind of, that's why she slapped her. But I don't know.
I mean, not being funny. So just the pure, and I'd like to think that in that time, so that was not that long ago. Was this in the 90s when this took place?
I believe so.
So when she was a child, I feel like police should have had more skill.
Yeah. The Barney
to know
fights.
that a child couldn't do that. I mean, a child would have had to knock a 16-year-old, and you're in the second grade. You think of it like an average 16-year-old. I know some 16-year-olds are little, but they described Petra as being tall and, and lanky or whatever. But she probably would have had to have a running start to push her.
Yeah.
And she would have had to be caught off guard to be pushed by that child.
Right.
And her parents were so freaked out, they didn't even think. They just reacted.
Right. Because, I mean, she's the only person there.
So they thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought, I thought of all the scenarios too, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I would have done that or not, because here is this young girl who I entrusted to watch my child, who snuck out of her mother's home. It was just all those things. And I would have took my chances. But then again, I'm the mother of a black child, not the mother of a white child, but I digress. Because, Maggie may have gotten away with that with a good therapist. And granted, she didn't do it, but she probably wouldn't have she might have gotten some mental health care. But I mean, then you think about all those other scary movies, Damien and all those things, how.
The Good Son.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
That kid was a psychopath.
But I did, some of the things that I didn't like, because I meant to mention that earlier, and I'm going to be real quick with that. When Ewan's letter to Maggie, he writes to her and says, yes, your mom and I, when he tells about that evening, your mom and I wanted to have a night out, away from you, and we wanted to go fuck like teenagers, and we accomplished that on multiple times. And I'm like, what father writes their daughter a letter and tells them that your mom and I, we went to a hotel because we wanted to fuck?
I feel like he could have stopped at, we needed a date night and we needed to get out of the house. Period. You didn't have to go further.
A male writer. What person, who does that? Not only do you say we go to do, but you accomplished that goal.
We were successful. Woohoo! Give us
multiple times. Yee for us. Granted, she's an adult, but still, there's still a line. And then he writes to her, you are the love of my life. And I'm like,
Oh, Lord.
You say that to a woman that you love. I don't
Yeah.
know too many people. I don't even think I've ever told my kid that you are the love of my life. You are my, I love you from the bottom of my heart. You are probably my, um, you know, best creation or something, but you are the love of my life.
It was
And
worded oddly.
it was. And I'm like,
Yeah.
again, male writer. And they didn't call him out. I'm like, why don't they call him out on some of his stuff when it
Yeah.
comes to writing from a, not from a female, but just some of the things when it comes to female things. I want to know, like, who is his freaking editor? Or because
You
he
know,
misses
let
the
me
mark.
tell you, Classy, I swear, the the ghost stories part, the father's point of view parts, those were the best parts.
Yeah.
Maggie's became kind of dull, especially in the center part of the story.
Yep.
Um, and honestly, I wanted this to be a ghost story.
Yeah.
I wanted there to be some ghost possessing people to do this stuff and
I wanted it
explain.
so bad.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Yeah. And I was like, nope, those are ghosts. It's ghosts. Nope, nope, nope.
Give me the ghost story. Don't come out with this elaborate fiasco that sounds unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking for ghosts too. I wanted,
Yeah.
because even after, at one point, I was like, no, it's still ghosts. No,
Uh-huh.
no, it's still ghosts. It was
Uh-huh.
just because I wanted it. Because, like you said, his part, the dad story, was good. It was when, remember I said it was just too long, and most of that was Maggie's.
Mm-hmm.
It was like we didn't need some of her whatever. It was dragging ass, man. It was dragging ass. So
It's like the ghost story parts were really reminiscent of, I mean, again, maybe Haunting on Hill House, the Haunting of Hill House first season 1. It
no,
had
okay.
those vibes. It
Mm-hmm.
felt creepy. It was
Yeah.
like, if it had those vibes that I was digging, and then it
Mm-hmm.
was like Maggie's parts came in and doused cold water on it.
Hey, that is the perfect description. You are so right because like the playing of the radio in the middle of the night, or and he would get
Mhm.
mad with the wife and hear them two are fighting because the record player was playing and stuff was missing and things were moved, and yeah, though I was into
Mhm.
that. But then when she came, yeah, it was a cold shower because it didn't add a lot to the story.
Mhm. It
It
didn't.
didn't. It just brought it back to it really didn't. It could have, her story could have been reduced a lot.
Mhm.
And I don't know where, but it didn't
And
bring
I
a
don't know why couldn't it just be a ghost story? It would have been so much better because she would have been discovering that, wait a minute, maybe he wasn't lying. Maybe I am remembering these things.
yeah,
That was interesting to
it
me.
was very interesting. And you're right, that is when the story started getting, but it was mixed in that I didn't even really think about it because you're just sitting there listening and you're like, okay, okay. But then when you
Mm-hmm.
get back to the ghost story, like, now that I think about something that I loved when that ghost was chasing them at the end, because he said the
Mm-hmm.
ghost wanted him to kill Maggie, and they got in
Mm-hmm.
that car, and that ghost hit that car, and all I could feel was like, like she hit that car, like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, yes, that's what
Yeah.
I was looking for. And then we get back to Maggie. But but those things were really good in the story. Yeah, now that I think about that, that probably was the best part, his story.
Just let us have the ghost story.
Yeah.
Let us have it. You
You know
don't
what?
have to explain everything with, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to
Soliloquies and all
dispel
this.
everything.
No,
Right.
he could have, now that we talk about this, it could have been him reading this story, and then all of a sudden she finds this letter that her dad leaves, because he gave her the house. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, while she's cleaning up the house, she finds his letters. Voila!
Mm-hmm.
Could have did something with that.
Yeah,
Telling the
that would have
whole
been a good ending. Like, oh, snap.
man. Yeah, without the mom coming
Yeah.
from whatever she flew in and that would have been perfect. That Maggie all of a sudden discovers these letters.
And then right after she starts believing everything, oh shit, it was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So what's really been happening here? That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the audiobook narrators for a moment. I honestly didn't have any big issues with any of them. I just think it was unfortunate for either Katie McLean that she had, Maggie's parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was dragging. I didn't have any issues at all. I enjoyed both of them. The way the story was told, you definitely needed two narrators. But what I really enjoyed with the female narrator, what's her name?
Katie McLean.
Okay. My favorite.
Cady, Katie.
Oh, okay. My favorite part with her was when the fight between Maggie, Petra, and Marta, because they're all in the same room, and she had to do everyone's voice, and she broke it up. She distinguished. I could tell Maggie talking, Petra talking, and Marta, because Petra had a heavy Vermont kind of accent. It had a little twang to it, but I'm listening and I'm like, this chick is talented. Because, it wasn't just, because how we read and here's Petra talking. They were all together in that tussle, and she didn't miss a beat. So shout out to you, honey. Yeah. I applaud you. I love
Bravo.
that. Yeah,
that was a good scene. It was that scene was fast moving with three characters with three distinct voices.
Man,
she did a good job.
That's talent right there. Yeah, she didn't miss a beat because I could tell. I knew each character. You didn't have to say this is Maggie talking or Maggie stop. Knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I liked them. They added to the story. They added some value to listening to this on audiobook, even though the story as a whole kind of fell flat for me. But they helped the audiobook. So I'm not sure if I would want to read 416 pages of this.
I know I'd go to sleep.
Because
I think I might have nodded a little bit on Maggie's part.
Well, I found myself rewinding 2 and 3 minutes here and there, like just to kind of make sure I heard something right.
Right.
Yeah.
His part, only time I had to rewind was the dang Morse code, and it might have been maybe with the fathers and daughters. But yeah, there were a few times where I could have it was a snooze. Yep.
All right, let's rate this thing. You guys listening, try to guess what our ratings are before we say them. See how well you know us. We've been doing this a while now. See if you can guess. Patsy, would you like to go first?
I gave it a 3.
Okay. Same.
All right.
I gave it a 3 as well. Because like I said at the very beginning of this conversation, it wasn't an awful book. No. My 3s are middle of the road.
Yeah. It was
there
okay.
Were issues. It was okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. Would I recommend it? No, I would not. No. But
not at all. Because I was looking forward to this being like my best Riley Sager. Oh, it's horror.
We were hoping. I don't know. I mean, if I give him another try, it won't be for the podcast because I want to be able to abandon ship if I want to.
Yes, right. DNF that.
Yeah. And I won't do that on the podcast. Whatever we say we're going to do here, I'm going to finish it. Even if it's the worst thing ever, I'm going to finish.
And I think too, like with us on the podcast, another key thing that we've figured out after doing this, because we would always, cast someone for the book, if it was a movie. And when we can't visualize an actor, actress playing these roles, that kind of tells us something about the book, because it doesn't come to life. I think you mentioned in the last podcast that somebody, when you were describing a book, somebody said, that sounds like a movie, because when we read a book and I can't visualize who can play this role, this book has not come to life for me.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
It was very difficult because, we have been doing that off and on in the after show.
Yeah.
But we don't do it on books that we just don't love, because it is you spend time doing that.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense to do that for one book that you just don't love.
All right.
I would never do that for a 3-star book.
Yeah.
I would not go through the exercise.
No.
And number two, it was, in this case specifically, it was hard to do that with most of these characters, figure out what they look like.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Yep. All I could do for Dale is find somebody in a hot Rolling Stone shirt with a hole, maybe.
Well, she did describe his body, because he was
it was
in construction. Tight. Yeah, he had a tight body. And he looked like he was in his 40s, but not old, with his salt and pepper. I remember something, salt and pepper. That's it. Yeah.
Not a lot.
Well.
Okay, he might have got the best description then.
Yeah, that's it. And Petra had a halfway decent description.
Yeah, she did. And his dad took a lot of pictures, and I think they were trying to figure, were they dating? Did they have the hots? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we changed something up a little bit, you guys. We usually kind of don't really know what we're going to do next when we do record. But guess what? We know what we're going to do next. In Shelf Addiction Official, if you join us over there, we will have the next 3 books that we're doing. So you can get to your library and you can plan.
Yes, get those holds now.
Get your holds in, or order, or whatever you want to do. So we're going to just share the first one with you guys on the podcast. If you want to know what we're doing after that, we'll keep sharing the next one on each episode that we do. But if you want to know now what the next quarter holds, head on over, join the Facebook group, and you will see that.
Come on over.
Yes, come on over. Join us. We got fun stuff going on over there. We've changed how we're doing our book clubs. So you'll be able to talk with us one-on-one, see our face in book club.
Yes.
It's not recorded or anything. It's private group book club. So feel secure with that.
Yeah.
And it's a fun time. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, come join the group and join in some of this fun stuff. So the next book is The Wives by Taryn Fisher. We're returning to our more traditional thriller / psychological thriller / possibly domestic thriller wheelhouse.
Yeah.
No ghost. Yeah, so
if somebody can do it right, maybe, but we'll never know until we read it.
Yes, and you should know, you guys, this is a great one to kick off the year, in January, because it's a short book too. The ebook is only like 256 pages.
Oh, that's excellent.
It's a short read, so you don't even have to worry about having to carve out a bunch of time for it. So you got no excuse not to join us.
Right. And, it's winter, cozy, Christmas break. Come on, join us.
You wanna. I think the paperback is a little longer, like 336 or something, but it's nothing it's not a 350 plus. You can do it. It's easy. And I think it's going to be one of these easy reads.
Okay.
Hopefully, don't quote me because I haven't read it yet. But I'm hoping.
Yeah.
If nothing else, it will be back to more in line with what we're used to doing here on the show. So don't get scared. We're not like falling into all horror. That's not happening.
We were just trying.
Yeah, we're just trying out some stuff just to get a little flavor in there. That's all.
Mm-hmm. That was all like soft horror. That was like soft horror.
It wasn't horror at all to me. It was just thriller. It was like, yeah.
Even the Stephen King we read last month, it was like, I mean, this was later Stephen King, but yeah, our horror was nothing.
We were tricked. So I think that is it for today. What do you think, Classy?
I think that's it too. I think that's the end of our review, and we did some housekeeping things.
Yeah.
I think
fun
that
times.
may be it. Yes.
All right. Well, if you've listened all the way to the end, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. Yes. Mm-hmm. We hope to see you next month. I hope to see you in the group. Definitely head on over to Patreon. Check out this after show. It's about to be some fun times going on over there. And we will catch you guys next month. And until then, take care of yourselves. Bye, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.